It's Chris, and today I'm bringing you some of my favorite sneaky starts for Week 9 that you can use to beat your league mates with. Alright, let's start with some running backs, and how about D'Ernest Johnson? 2 weeks ago, got the backfield all to himself, won you your fantasy week if you started him. Last week, Nick Chubb back did almost nothing, but I think there's reason for optimism here in Week 9, and that's because of the matchup against the Bengals. Yes, Nick Chubb is going to get the bulk of the carries. But one thing about the Bengals is they give up a ton of receptions to running backs. In fact, they give up the most receptions to running backs in the entire NFL. D'Ernest Johnson only had 1 catch last week, but he did lead all running backs with 3 targets. In fact, he had 3 of the 5 total running back targets. We saw what Michael Carter did against this defense catching the ball. I think D'Ernest Johnson can be involved enough in the passing game to give him some sneaky flex appeal in PPR leagues. So if you've still got D'Ernest Johnson on your bench and you're desperate, give him a look in PPR leagues. All right, next up, I'm going to recommend Frank Gore. Wait, that can't be right. No, it's Derek Gore? Who's Derek Gore? That's right, Derek Gore. Prior to Monday night, nobody had heard of him, and then he handled 11 carries for 48 yards and a touchdown, much to the chagrin of every Darrell Williams fantasy manager. Now it looks like he's a part of this offense, a part of this game plan. On the negative side, he didn't have a single target or catch a single pass. That was still all Darrell Williams' role. On the positive side, game script should be in the Chiefs' favor in this game because if you haven't heard, Aaron Rodgers will not play due to testing positive for COVID and not being vaccinated, so at a minimum 10 days for Aaron Rodgers. So even though this Chiefs defense is terrible, and even though this Chiefs offense is borderline not good, they can't really pull away, or the Packers aren't going to be able to dominate them like they probably would have had Aaron Rodgers been healthy and played. This is going to be a closer game, or the Chiefs are just going to outright win this game, which is good for Derek Gore because you got to think after what he showed last week, he'll get some more carries this week. And again, he did get the goal line work last week, and that always gives you sneaky value in all formats. And then finally, I don't know how sneaky Jeremy McNichols is because we all know about Jeremy McNichols at this point, but most people are just assuming that Adrian Peterson will handle the bulk of the carries and Jeremy McNichols will only catch passes. I'm not so sure that's the case, especially here in Week 9, because Adrian Peterson just signed with the team. You can't expect him to sign with the team and then a handful of days later be out there carrying the ball 15 to 20 times. I think McNichols will still get a decent amount of carries by himself, and we know he is the pass catching back. So even in a standard or a half PPR league, I still think McNichols does have some sneaky value. Definitely has plenty of sneaky value in PPR leagues though. He's a guy you should absolutely feel good about flexing this week in a PPR league. All right guys, before I get to some wide receivers, I just want to say if you're enjoying the video, take a second, hit that thumbs up button. Greatly appreciate it. All right, let's dive into some sneaky wide receivers, and let's start with Van Jefferson of the Rams. Deshaun Jackson, cut. Tutu Atwell, hurt. That means Van Jefferson, who we've already seen have some big games and make some big plays, is the number 3 wide receiver on this team. Obviously, Kupp and Woods are 1-2, but Van Jefferson is going to slot in as that number 3 wide receiver and go in against this Titans secondary, which is one of the worst in the entire NFL. There's going to be chances for big plays. Combine that with the fact that the Rams are the pass heaviest team in the NFL when it comes to neutral pass rate, and you've got a recipe for a guy who could boom as a sneaky start in Week 9. And then finally, how about Rondale Moore? Remember him? Had those couple early games. He was the hot waiver wire pickup. Hasn't really done much since, but kind of like Tre'Quan Smith, there's reason for optimism here in Week 9 because AJ Green just landed on the COVID list. Now, unclear whether AJ Green will play or not this week, but looking very doubtful. If he doesn't play, that's going to open up more opportunities for Rondale Moore. Now, there is some risk here because it may not be Kyler Murray. What we're hearing so far is that Kyler Murray will be a game-time decision. Obviously, if it's Kyler Murray, love Rondale Moore as a great sneaky start. If it's Colt McCoy, he's a little riskier, but again, with AJ Green out, who's kind of been the team's number 2 receiver, him and Christian Kirk, the number 2 receiver there behind DeAndre Hopkins, that's going to open up more targets. And we know Rondale Moore, he can, in one play, he can make your entire week. So look for Rondale Moore as a sneaky start in Week 9, especially if Kyler Murray plays. All right, guys, before I get to my last 2 sneaky starts, I do want to let you know that Apart from supporting us by watching our videos, subscribing to the channel, which we do appreciate, you can also support us by becoming a Patreon. That's right down below. We have a link to our Patreon account. It's very inexpensive. Buy us a cup of coffee, and in return, we will give you tons of incredible perks. So if you want to support us, check it out down in the description. We appreciate it. Pat Freiermuth of the Steelers. He's had 7 targets in back-to-back games. 7 targets for a tight end is a ton of targets. And the good news here is Ben Roethlisberger can't really throw it deep anymore. So you got to think he's going to see another 7+ targets. Plus, Eric Ebron has already been ruled out for week 9. So he is the guy there. He's kind of taken on that Juju role to some degree. No, he's not playing in the slot like Juju, but he's catching those Juju type of routes and type of passes. So again, at a tight end position where really all you're looking for is 5 or 6 catches or a touchdown, Pat Freiermuth can almost certainly get you one, if not both of those this week. So if you're desperate at tight end, if you lost Noah Fant, look at Pat Freiermuth as a sneaky play. All right, guys, that does it for my sneaky starts for week 9. Let me know down below if you have a question about any sneaky starts for your lineups. I'd love to hear from you. Again, if you enjoyed the video, hit the thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.